The cathedral doors were supposed to stay closed until I walked back down that aisle as Mrs. Thornwell. But when they burst open and a woman in black stepped through, holding a child with my fiancé's eyes, I realized the man waiting at the altar had built his billion-dollar empire on more than just lies. He'd built it on erased lives. Before we dive into this journey together, let me take a moment to speak to your heart. May the Almighty bless every step you take today. May He grant you wisdom to see through deception, strength to walk away from what no longer serves you, and courage to rebuild when life shatters your plans. May you find love that is true, prosperity that is honest, and peace that surpasses all understanding. God bless you abundantly. If this touches your soul, comment below, "I am with Mr. Douglas Stories." And let's begin this unforgettable tale. I woke up that morning in silk sheets that cost more than my first car, staring at the ceiling of the penthouse suite at the Grand Belvedere Hotel in the heart of Geneva. The Swiss Alps glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows like diamonds scattered across velvet. Everything was perfect, too perfect. My name is Juliet Beaumont, and today was supposed to be the day I became Mrs. Juliet Thornwell, wife to Sebastian Thornwell, tech billionaire, philanthropist, and the man who'd swept me off my feet 18 months ago at a charity gala in Dubai. Sebastian wasn't just wealthy. He was the kind of rich that made other rich people nervous. His company, Thornwell Innovations, had revolutionized cybersecurity, making him one of Forbes's top 30 under 40. He drove cars that hadn't even been released to the public yet. He owned properties on 4 continents. And somehow, impossibly, he'd chosen me. I was a boutique interior designer from Seattle, successful in my own right, but nothing compared to his empire. My clients were wealthy, sure, but Sebastian's world was stratospheric. Private jets, meetings with heads of state, dinners where the wine was older than my grandmother. "Juliet, darling, you're glowing." My mother burst into the suite, with my 3 bridesmaids trailing behind her, all carrying garment bags and champagne. Sophia, my maid of honor and best friend since college, immediately popped the cork. "To the bride," she announced, pouring expensive bubbles into crystal flutes. "To the woman who managed to land a billionaire without even trying." I laughed, but something felt off, a tightness in my chest I couldn't explain. I'd felt it for weeks now, a whisper of doubt I kept silencing. Sebastian had been distant lately, distracted. Phone calls he'd step out of the room to take, text messages he'd angle his phone away from me to read. But I'd rationalized it all. He was closing a massive deal. He was stressed. He was busy planning our honeymoon, 3 weeks in Bora Bora, completely unplugged. "Earth to Juliet?" Sophia waved her hand in front of my face. "Where'd you go?" "Sorry, just nervous, I guess." "Nervous?" my mother scoffed, adjusting her pearl necklace. "Darling, you're about to marry a man who literally bought you an island for your engagement present. What's there to be nervous about?" "Everything," I thought, but I smiled instead. "You're right, just wedding jitters." The next 3 hours were a blur of hair, makeup, and champagne. My dress was a custom Valentino, ivory silk with hand-sewn crystals that caught the light like captured starlight. It had cost more than my entire childhood home. The veil was vintage lace, borrowed from Sebastian's grandmother, the formidable Catherine Thornwell, matriarch of the Thornwell dynasty. By noon, I was standing in front of the mirror, and even I had to admit, I looked like a fairy tale. "He's a lucky man," Sophia whispered, squeezing my hand. "Are you ready?" I nodded, even though that tightness in my chest had grown into something closer to dread. The Cathedral of St. Pierre was an architectural masterpiece. Gothic spires reaching toward heaven, stained glass windows casting rainbow light across centuries-old stone. Sebastian had insisted on this venue, said it reminded him of his mother, who'd passed away when he was young. As my father walked me down the endless aisle, I saw the sea of faces, 400 guests, each one more wealthy and influential than the last. European aristocrats, Silicon Valley titans, a Saudi prince Sebastian had gone to Oxford with. I recognized a famous actress, a retired Olympic athlete, and at least 3 politicians. And then I saw Sebastian. He stood at the altar in a Tom Ford tuxedo, his dark hair perfectly styled, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass, his green eyes locked on mine, and for a moment, the doubt vanished. This was the man who'd flown to Seattle to surprise me on my birthday, who'd stayed up all night helping me prepare for my biggest client presentation, who'd told me on our 3rd date that he'd never believed in love at first sight until he met me. The ceremony began. The priest's voice echoed through the cathedral, speaking of love and commitment and sacred vows. My hands trembled as I held Sebastian's. He smiled at me, and I tried to smile back. "If anyone objects to this union," the priest intoned, "speak now or forever. Hold your peace." Silence. And then, the heavy cathedral doors burst open with a sound like thunder. Every head turned. Gasps rippled through the congregation. And there, silhouetted against the bright Geneva sunlight, stood a woman. She was tall, elegant, dressed entirely in black, like she'd come from a funeral. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun. But it was what she carried that made my blood turn to ice. A child, a little boy, maybe 4 years old, with dark curly hair and bright green eyes. Sebastian's eyes. If you're on the edge of your seat right now, imagine what's coming next. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because Mr. Douglas Stories is about to take you on a ride you won't forget. And hit that like button. Let's get this story the attention it deserves. "Sebastian Thornwell," the woman's voice rang out, British accent crisp and cutting. "We need to talk." The cathedral erupted into chaos. Whispers became shouts. Phones were pulled out. Sebastian's father, Richard Thornwell, stood up from the front pew, his face purple with rage. Sebastian himself had gone completely white. "Claire," he breathed, and that single word confirmed my worst nightmare. He knew her. "Who is that?" I whispered, but Sebastian wasn't looking at me anymore. His eyes were fixed on the woman, Claire, and the child in her arms. The priest looked utterly lost. "Perhaps we should know." I surprised myself with the firmness in my voice. I turned to Sebastian, and despite the hundreds of eyes on us, despite the cameras I could see recording this disaster, I asked the only question that mattered: "Who are they?" Sebastian's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Juliet, I can explain. Who are they?" Claire walked down the aisle, heels clicking against stone. The little boy clung to her neck, his green eyes, Sebastian's eyes, watching everything with solemn curiosity. She stopped 10 feet from the altar. "My name is Claire Ashworth," she said, her voice steady, practiced. And this is Oliver, Sebastian's son. The world tilted. Sebastian's son. That's a lie, Sebastian's father roared, storming toward Claire. Security, get this woman out of here. But Sophia, bless her, had moved to block any security that might approach. Wait, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Let her speak. Claire shifted Oliver to her hip. The boy was sucking his thumb, seemingly unbothered by the spectacle. Sebastian and I were together for 5 years, she said, and each word was a knife. We lived together in London. We were engaged. I got pregnant, and he promised we'd get married after Oliver was born. But then, she looked directly at Sebastian. Then you got your big American contract, and I became inconvenient, didn't I? That's not, Sebastian started, but Claire cut him off. You paid me to disappear, £2 million to sign an NDA and never contact you again, to tell Oliver his father was dead. Her voice cracked, the first sign of emotion. But then I saw the engagement announcement, saw you were getting married in my city. Yes, Geneva is where I've been hiding. And I thought, no, no more lies. Oliver deserves to know his father. And your bride, she looked at me with something that might have been pity, deserves to know who she's marrying. I couldn't breathe. The corset of my wedding dress was suddenly too tight, crushing my ribs, crushing my heart. Jules? I turned to him, hating how my voice broke on his name. Tell me it's not true. His silence was deafening. Tell me, I screamed, and the cathedral fell silent. I was going to tell you, he whispered. After the wedding, during the honeymoon, I swear, Juliet, I was going to... You have a son. My voice sounded hollow, distant. You have a 4-year-old son, and you were going to tell me after we were married. It's complicated. Did you pay her to disappear? Juliet, please. Did you pay her to disappear? Yes. The word fell like an executioner's axe. Yes, I did. But I was young and stupid and scared, and I ripped my hand from his. The engagement ring he'd given me, a 15-carat diamond that had once belonged to a Russian princess, suddenly felt like a shackle. I yanked it off and threw it. It bounced off his chest and clattered across the stone floor. Juliet, wait! He reached for me, but I stepped back. Don't touch me. I looked at Claire, at little Oliver, with his thumb in his mouth and his father's eyes. I'm sorry, I told her. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I know you didn't, she said softly. That's why I came. I turned to face the congregation, 400 faces staring at me, waiting to see what I'd do. My mother was crying. Sophia looked ready to commit murder. Sebastian's father was on his phone, probably already calling lawyers. And I realized something. I was done being the perfect girlfriend, the accommodating partner, the woman who made herself smaller to fit into Sebastian's enormous world. This wedding, I announced, my voice echoing through the cathedral, is over. I hiked up my dress and walked. Not ran, walked, with my head high and my spine straight. Out of the cathedral, past the gasping guests, past the photographers who'd been hired to capture our perfect day. Sophia caught up with me on the steps. Where are you going? I don't know. I laughed, and it came out slightly hysterical. I don't know anything anymore. Then let's go find out, she said, linking her arm through mine. But first, we're getting you out of that dress and into something you can actually breathe in. And then we're drinking all of Sebastian's expensive whiskey. I love you, I told her. I know. Come on. We commandeered the honeymoon suite. I figured I'd paid for it emotionally, if not financially. Sophia helped me out the dress, and I stood in the massive bathroom in just my underwear, staring at myself in the mirror. Who am I? I whispered. You're Juliet Beaumont, Sophia said firmly, and you just dodged the biggest bullet of your life. But had I? Or had I just discovered it had already hit me, and I was only now realizing I was bleeding out? My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Sebastian, his father, my mother, unknown numbers, probably press. I turned it off. There was a knock at the door. Sophia opened it a crack, then wider. You're going to want to see this. Claire stood in the hallway, still in her black dress, but without Oliver. I left him with my sister downstairs, she explained. Can we talk? Just for a moment? I should have said no, should have told her I couldn't handle any more revelations, but I nodded. She came in, and we all sat. Me in a hotel robe, Sophia in her bridesmaid dress, Claire perched on the edge of an armchair like she might flee at any moment. I didn't come here to ruin your life, Claire said quietly. I came because Oliver started asking questions about his father, and I couldn't keep lying to him. How did you find out about the wedding? I asked. Sebastian invited his Oxford roommate, Nathaniel Blackwood. Nathaniel's wife is my second cousin. She saw the invitation, saw Geneva, and called me. Claire laughed bitterly. Small world, isn't it? Does Oliver know, Sophia asked, that Sebastian is his father? Not yet. I wanted to talk to Sebastian first, but he wouldn't return my calls. His lawyers threatened me with the NDA, so she shrugged. I made a scene. I'm glad you did, I said, and meant it. What else don't I know? About Sebastian, I mean. Claire's expression turned careful. What do you want to know? Everything. I thought I knew him. I thought... My voice broke. God, I was so stupid. You weren't stupid. You were lied to. Claire reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. I wasn't sure if I should give you this, but you deserve the truth. All of it. I took the flash drive like it might explode. What is it? Emails, text messages, financial records, everything I managed to save before I signed that NDA. She stood. Sebastian isn't who he pretends to be, Juliet. And his family, they're worse. What do you mean? Find out for yourself. I've done what I came to do. She moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I think you're better off. Sebastian Thornwell is brilliant and charming and utterly ruthless. He would have destroyed you eventually. He destroys everything he touches. After she left, Sophia and I stared at the flash drive. Do you want a look? Sophia asked. I don't know if I can handle any more today. Then we'll look together. Tomorrow, after sleep and alcohol and a very long cry. She opened Sebastian's gifted whiskey, a 50-year-old Macallan, and poured us both generous glasses. To dodging bullets. To dodging bullets, I echoed. We drank, and I tried not to think about Sebastian, about Oliver, about the life I'd almost walked into, but I couldn't stop. Because Claire's words kept echoing. He destroys everything he touches. What had I almost let him destroy? I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sebastian's face, or Oliver's green eyes, or the moment Claire walked through those cathedral doors. By sunrise, I'd made a decision. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop. Sophia woke to find me surrounded by printed documents, my eyes red from crying and reading. Nat, what time is it? 7. Sophia, you need to see this. The flash drive contained 5 years of correspondence between Sebastian and Claire. Love letters at first, sweet, genuine, full of promises. But they changed over time, especially after Oliver's birth. I can't be a father right now. My career is just taking off. You knew what you were getting into. Maybe it's better if we take a break. And then, the financial records. Sebastian hadn't just paid Claire £2 million to disappear. He'd paid his lawyers to draft a document that essentially erased Oliver from existence. No child support, no inheritance, no acknowledgement. There was a clause that made my stomach turn. In the event that Sebastian Thornwell enters into marriage or fathers additional children, Oliver Ashworth shall have no claim to the Thornwell estate or fortune. He'd made his own son legally nobody, but that wasn't the worst part. Look at this, I told Sophia, pointing to an email from Richard Thornwell to Sebastian. It's from 2 months after Oliver was born. Sophia read aloud, "You've handled the Claire situation appropriately. Women like her are always looking for a payday. 2 million is a bargain. But be more careful in the future. We can't afford another scandal, not with the Singapore deal in play." His father knew, I whispered. His whole family knew, and they all just erased him. There were more emails, dozens, references to other situations that had been handled, NDAs that had been signed. Sebastian's name appeared again and again, connected to women who'd been paid off, silenced, made to disappear. "Juliet," Sophia said slowly, "I think Sebastian might have more than one hidden child." The room spun. "There." Sophia pointed to an email from Sebastian's lawyer. "Per your instructions, I've confirmed the Brisbane arrangement. The mother has signed the NDA and relocated. She understands the terms." Brisbane, Australia. That was 3 years ago. "How many?" I asked numbly. "How many children does he have?" We dug deeper. By noon, we'd found references to at least 3 different NDAs, 3 different women, 3 different cities. Oliver in London, someone in Brisbane, and possibly someone in Cape Town. "He's a monster," Sophia said flatly, "a literal monster." But there was more. Financial documents showing money being moved through shell companies, bribes to government officials, evidence of insider trading. Sebastian wasn't just a brilliant tech entrepreneur, he was a criminal. "We need to call someone," Sophia said. "The police, the press, someone." "No," I closed my laptop. "Not yet." "What? Why?" "Because if we go public with this, Sebastian's lawyers will bury it. Bury us. The Thornwells have more money than God, and twice the power. We need to be smart. So, what do you want to do?" I thought of Claire, of Oliver, of the other children scattered across the world who'd been paid to not exist. I thought of all the women Sebastian had used and discarded, and I thought of myself standing at that altar about to become Mrs. Sebastian Thornwell, completely clueless. "I want revenge," I said. "But not just revenge, justice, for all of us." Sophia's grin was feral. "Now you're talking. What's the plan? Are you still with me? Because it's about to get even more intense. If you're invested in Juliet's story, show some love, like this video, subscribe to Mr. Douglas Stories, and comment, "I am with Mr. Douglas Stories" below. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Let's go. I needed help. The kind of help that money alone couldn't buy. I needed someone who understood how billionaires operated, how they protected themselves, how they hid their secrets. I might know someone, Sophia said hesitantly, but you're not going to like it. Who? Grant Morrison. I groaned. Grant Morrison was the investigative journalist who'd made his career exposing corporate corruption. He was brilliant, relentless, and had broken stories that had taken down CEOs and politicians. He was also my ex-boyfriend from college. Absolutely not, I said. Hear me out. Grant is the only person I know who could actually take down the Thornwells. He has the connections, the platform, the expertise, and he hates me. He doesn't hate you. You broke his heart, which is different. I'd ended things with Grant when I graduated because he wanted to stay in investigative journalism, a noble but broke profession, and I wanted stability. I'd been practical. He'd called me a sellout. We hadn't spoken in 8 years. He'll never help me, I said. Only one way to find out. Grant lived in Brussels now, working for a major European newspaper. Sophia got his number from a mutual friend, and I stared at my phone for 20 minutes before finally calling. Hello? His voice was exactly as I remembered. Deep, slightly rough, suspicious. Grant, it's Juliet. Juliet Beaumont. Silence. Then, the Juliet who was supposed to marry Sebastian Thornwell yesterday. You heard about that? It's all over the internet. Cathedral wedding crasher, secret love child, runaway bride. You're viral. Congratulations. I need your help. With what? Damage control? PR? Sorry, I don't do puff pieces. Grant, please, just listen. I took a breath. Sebastian Thornwell has at least 3 children he's hidden and paid women to keep silent about. He's committed fraud, possibly bribery. His entire empire is built on lies and NDAs and making people disappear. And I have evidence. Another silence. Longer. What kind of evidence? Emails, financial records, names, dates, amounts, everything. Send it to me, encrypted. I'll call you back in an hour. He hung up. 67 minutes later, my phone rang. Where are you? Grant asked without preamble. Geneva, the Grand Belvedere. Stay there. I'm catching the next flight. Don't talk to anyone. Don't post anything online. And for God's sake, don't confront Sebastian or his family. If what you sent me is real, and it looks real, then you're sitting on the biggest scandal of the decade. Will you help me? Help you? Juliet, I'm going to help you burn his entire empire to the ground. But we do this my way, understand? No improvisation, no emotional decisions. You follow my lead. Agreed. I'll be there by tonight. Juliet? Yeah? I'm sorry. About the wedding. About all of it. You deserved better. He hung up before I could respond. Sophia raised an eyebrow. Well? He's coming. And he's angry. Good, Sophia said. Angry is exactly what we need. Grant arrived at midnight, looking exactly like I remembered, but harder somehow, weathered by years of chasing stories that powerful people didn't want told. He had the same messy brown hair, the same intense brown eyes, the same worn leather jacket. Nat, he said, and then we were hugging, and I was crying again. I'm sorry, I sobbed into his shoulder. I'm so sorry for everything. Later, right now, we work. He pulled back, all business. Show me everything. We spent the next 6 hours going through every document, every email, every transaction. Grant took notes, cross-referenced dates, built timelines. As the sun rose over Geneva, he sat back and whistled. "This is worse than I thought," he said. "Sebastian hasn't just hidden children. He's used those NDAs to hide embezzlement, fraud, possibly sexual harassment. Look here, this woman in Brisbane. She worked for Thornwell Innovations. This one in Cape Town was a business partner's daughter. He's been using his power and money to prey on vulnerable women for years." "Can we prove it?" I asked. "Some of it, but we need more. We need testimonies. If I can find these women, convince them to talk." "They won't," Sophia interrupted. "They signed NDAs. Sebastian's lawyers will destroy them. Not if we move fast enough. Not if we get enough of them to come forward at once. Safety in numbers." Grant looked at me. "But there's a problem." "What?" "You. Sebastian's legal team will paint you as a scorned bride out for revenge. They'll say you stole these documents, that they're fabricated, that you're lying. We need to get ahead of that narrative." "How?" "By getting Sebastian to incriminate himself, on record, before we publish anything." Grant's smile was sharp. "Think you can handle confronting him one more time?" The thought made me sick, but I nodded. "What do I need to do?" Grant had connections everywhere, including people who could provide the kind of equipment that probably wasn't entirely legal. By that afternoon, I was wearing a wire so small it was practically invisible, hidden in a necklace I'd worn dozens of times before. "Just get him talking," Grant instructed. "Ask about Claire, about Oliver. If he admits to anything, payment, NDAs, other women, we've got him. And if he doesn't, then we publish what we have and hope it's enough to start an avalanche." He squeezed my shoulder. "You've got this." I'd texted Sebastian that morning. "We need to talk. Your office. 5 p.m. His response had been immediate. "I'll be there. Thank you, Juliet. Thank you for giving me a chance to explain." The ride to Thornwell Innovations' Geneva office felt eternal. The building was glass and steel, modern and cold, reaching 40 stories into the sky. Sebastian's office was on the top floor, naturally. Corner office with views of the lake and mountains. He was waiting when I arrived, and he looked terrible, unshaven, rumpled, like he hadn't slept. "Juliet," he breathed, starting toward me, but I held up a hand. "Don't. Just don't. I'm so sorry. I know sorry doesn't cover it. I know nothing I can say will make this right. But please, let me try to explain." I sat down in one of his expensive chairs. "So, explain. Start with Oliver." Sebastian sank into his desk chair, running his hands through his hair. "I was 26 when I met Claire. Young, stupid, thought I was invincible. We were together for 5 years, and I did love her, Juliet. I did. But when she got pregnant..." He trailed off. "You what? Got scared? Decided a child didn't fit your image?" "Both. All of it. My father told me I was throwing away my future, that Claire would trap me, that..." He laughed bitterly. "That I should pay her off and walk away. So I did. £2 million for her and Oliver to disappear. And the NDA? My lawyers drafted it. I just signed where they told me to sign. Did you even think about Oliver? About what it would mean for him to grow up without a father?" Every day, his voice cracked. Every single day. But by the time I realized what I'd done, it was too late. The NDA was signed. Claire had moved, and my father told me to let it go, to move on, to build my empire and find someone more suitable. Someone like me. You weren't part of some plan, Juliet. I fell in love with you. Real love. Not like with Claire. You were different. Grounded. Genuine. Not interested in my money. Except you lied to me. For a year and a half, you lied. I know, and I hate myself for it. But I was going to tell you, I swear, after the wedding, after I was legally bound to you, after it would be harder for me to leave. I leaned forward. Were there others, Sebastian? Other women? Other children? His face went pale. What? Don't lie to me. Not anymore. Were there others? There was one other situation. In Australia. But she miscarried, and you paid her anyway to sign an NDA. Yes. His voice was barely audible. How much? 1.5 million. Australian or US? Australian. I felt sick, but I pressed on. Grant needed this. I needed this. Anyone else? Sebastian's silence was answer enough. How many? I demanded. How many women have you paid off? How many secrets are you hiding? Juliet, please. How many? 3, he shouted. 3 women, okay? Claire and Oliver, the woman in Brisbane who lost the baby. And there was someone in Cape Town, but that was years ago, before I even met you. What happened in Cape Town? Nothing. We dated. It ended badly. She threatened to go to the press with lies about me being abusive, so my lawyers paid her to sign an NDA and recant. Was she lying? Sebastian's hesitation told me everything. It was one fight. I pushed her. She fell. It was an accident. You assaulted her. It wasn't like that. You assaulted a woman, and then you paid her to stay quiet. I stood up, shaking. What else, Sebastian? What else are you hiding? Embezzlement? Bribery? What other crimes have your family's lawyers made disappear? That's not fair. Answer the question. Yes. Okay, yes. I've done things I'm not proud of. Paid people off. Made problems go away. But that's how business works at this level, Juliet. Everyone does it. Everyone cuts corners and makes deals. And not everyone has 3 hidden children and a history of assault. Sebastian's face crumbled. What do you want from me? Confession? Penance? I'll do anything, Juliet. Anything. Just don't leave me. Please don't leave me. He was crying now, actually crying, and part of me, the part that had loved him, that had said yes to his proposal, wanted to comfort him. But I thought of Oliver, Claire, the women in Brisbane and Cape Town, all the people Sebastian had hurt and paid to forget. You're right, I said softly. You can't make this right, but you can do one thing. What? Anything. Tell the truth, publicly. Own what you've done. Set up trusts for your children. Release those women from their NDAs. Do the right thing, Sebastian. Finally do the right thing. He stared at me like I'd suggested he set himself on fire. I can't. My father, the board, the shareholders, it would destroy everything I've built. Your empire is built on lies and pain. Maybe it deserves to be destroyed. Juliet. But I was already walking toward the door. Goodbye, Sebastian. I hope someday you figure out how to be the man you pretended to be. I left him there, crying in his corner office with his empire of secrets. In the elevator, I pulled out my phone and texted Grant. Got it. All of it. His response was immediate. Good. Time to burn it down. Grant worked through the night, crafting the article that would change everything. He reached out to Claire, who agreed to go on record. He found the woman in Brisbane. Her name was Jessica Hart, and she'd been Sebastian's executive assistant before he'd gotten her pregnant and paid her off. Jessica hadn't miscarried. She had a 3-year-old daughter named Emma. Sebastian had lied about that too. The woman in Cape Town was harder to find, but Grant's contacts came through. Amara Okafor, a brilliant software engineer who'd been Sebastian's partner on an early project. Sebastian hadn't just pushed her, he'd broken her wrist. The NDA had been part of a settlement that included $250,000 and a promise that she'd never work in tech again. Grant got all 3 women to agree to interviews, to statements, to breaking their NDAs simultaneously, presenting a unified front that Sebastian's lawyers couldn't easily attack. The article drops tomorrow morning, Grant told me. European time, so it'll hit during American breakfast news cycle. Maximum impact. What about me? I asked. What should I do? Hide, he said bluntly, or face the press. Your choice, but either way, your life is about to become a circus. I chose to face it. Grant's article was a masterpiece. Devastating and fair, packed with evidence, quotes, financial records. The headline, The Hidden Cost of Genius, How Billionaire Sebastian Thornwell Built an Empire on Lies and Silenced Families. It ran on the front page of Grant's newspaper. Within hours, it had been picked up by every major outlet: CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, tech blogs, financial sites, celebrity gossip magazines. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. The internet exploded. Thornwell scandal trended worldwide. Memes of Sebastian's face next to the word exposed flooded social media. Think pieces about billionaire accountability, about NDAs and power, about the women who'd been silenced. And then the floodgates opened. More women came forward. Not just romantic partners, but employees, business associates, women who'd been harassed, threatened, paid off. A dozen NDAs cracked in the wake of Claire, Jessica, and Amara's bravery. Sebastian's stock price plummeted. Board members resigned. Investors pulled funding. The Singapore deal fell through. Government investigations were launched in 3 countries. In less than a week, Sebastian Thornwell went from billionaire wunderkind to scandal-plagued pariah. His father released a statement claiming ignorance of Sebastian's actions. No one believed him. More digging revealed Richard Thornwell's own history of cover-ups and payoffs. The entire family empire began to crumble. As for me, I did interviews, dozens of them. I told my story, how I'd almost married a man I didn't really know, how I'd been lied to, how I'd escaped. Do you feel like a victim? One reporter asked. No, I said. I feel like I dodged a bullet. The real victims are Sebastian's children, the women he hurt and silenced. I'm just lucky I found out before it was too late. Do you regret the relationship? I regret trusting someone who didn't deserve it. But I don't regret leaving. That's the best decision I ever made. 3 months later, I was back in Seattle, rebuilding my life. My design business had actually grown. Turns out being the runaway bride at the center of a scandal makes you interesting to wealthy clients who want someone who gets them. Sebastian had been forced to step down as CEO of Thornwell Innovations. The company was in the process of rebranding, distancing itself from its founder. He'd set up trust funds for Oliver, Emma, and 2 other children we'd discovered, twins in Singapore from yet another hidden relationship. The NDAs had been dissolved. The women were free to tell their stories, to reclaim their voices, to rebuild their lives. Claire had sent me a thank you card. You gave Oliver his father back, even if that father is flawed. Thank you for having the courage to walk away and the grace to help us anyway. Amara had reached out too, asking if I wanted to collaborate on a project, a non-profit helping women escape abusive relationships with powerful men. I'd said yes immediately. Grant and I had dinner once a week now, catching up on everything we'd missed in 8 years. We were taking things slow, rebuilding trust, figuring out if we could be friends or maybe eventually something more. Any regrets? He asked one evening over Thai food. I thought about it, about the cathedral, the dress, the life I'd almost lived. No, I said. I think everything happened exactly as it needed to. Even meeting Sebastian? Even that, because it led me here, to this, to finally figuring out who I am and what I actually want. And what do you want? I smiled. To build something real, something that doesn't fall apart the moment someone asks hard questions. Something that actually matters. I think you're already doing that, Grant said. Maybe I was. 6 months after the wedding that never was, I received a package at my Seattle office. No return address, just my name in elegant script on expensive paper. Inside was a letter and a flash drive. The letter was from Catherine Thornwell, Sebastian's grandmother, the woman whose vintage lace veil I was supposed to have worn. Dear Juliet, I imagine you're surprised to hear from me. You shouldn't be. I've been watching this entire situation unfold with great interest, and I must say, you handled it beautifully. I'm writing because there are things you should know. Things about my grandson, my son, and my family that even your journalist friend hasn't uncovered yet. My late husband, Sebastian's grandfather, built the Thornwell fortune through methods that would make your skin crawl, weapons dealing, blood diamonds, deals with dictators. The tech company was always meant to be a way to legitimize dirty money. I've spent 30 years trying to change this family from within. I thought Sebastian might be different. I was wrong, but perhaps you can succeed where I failed. The flash drive contains everything: financial records, offshore accounts, shell companies, names of people we've bribed or blackmailed over the decades, everything you need to finish what you started. I'm 87 years old. I have nothing left to lose and everything to atone for. Burn it all down, Juliet. Burn it down and build something better from the ashes. With respect and admiration, Catherine Thornwell. I stared at the letter, then at the flash drive, my hands shaking. Oh my God, Sophia said when I called her. What are you going to do? I'm going to call Grant, I said, and then I'm going to finish this. Because Catherine was right. I'd started something on my wedding day, standing at that altar, watching my future explode. I'd exposed Sebastian's personal crimes, but his family's legacy was so much darker. It took another year, but we did it. Grant published a series of articles that didn't just take down Sebastian Thornwell, they dismantled the entire Thornwell empire. The investigations that followed uncovered decades of corruption, leading to arrests, asset seizures, and the kind of accountability that powerful families rarely face. The fortune was liquidated, with massive portions going to victims, to restitution, to charities. The Thornwell name became synonymous with corruption, a cautionary tale about unchecked wealth and power. Sebastian himself ended up serving 3 years for fraud and assault. His father got longer. The family empire didn't just crumble, it was systematically destroyed, piece by corrupt piece. And Catherine? She died peacefully 6 months after sending me that package, knowing she'd finally done the right thing. 2 years after that would-be wedding day, I stood in another beautiful space, not a cathedral, but a modern art gallery in Seattle, showcasing work by survivors of domestic violence. The non-profit Amara and I had built was thriving, helping hundreds of women escape, rebuild, and reclaim their lives. Claire was there with Oliver, now 6 and thriving. He'd met his half-siblings, Emma, and the Singapore twins, May and June. Sebastian had limited, supervised visitation rights, and all 4 children had trust funds that would ensure their futures. Jessica came too, and Amara and a dozen other women who'd found the courage to speak up, to break their silence, to demand accountability. And Grant was there, because Grant was always there now. We'd been together officially for a year, taking it slow, building something real and honest and good. "How does it feel?" he asked, watching me survey the gallery, the art, the women who'd become my friends and collaborators. "Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," I said. "Any regrets?" I thought about Sebastian, about the cathedral, about the moment Claire walked through those doors, about how my entire life had changed in an instant. "Not even one," I said. That day was the worst and best thing that ever happened to me. It destroyed everything I thought I wanted and showed me what I actually needed. Which was truth, purpose, the courage to walk away from something wrong and towards something right. I took his hand, and maybe a second chance with someone who actually deserves it. Grant smiled. "I'm pretty sure you're the one giving second chances here." "Then let's call it even." We kissed, and across the gallery, Sophia Wolf whistled, making everyone laugh. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Emma, Jessica's daughter. Mum told me you helped give me my college fund. Thank you. I'm going to study law and help other kids like us." I showed Grant, and he grinned. "Looks like you're building an army." "Good," I said. "The world needs it." The book came out on a Tuesday, my memoir, co-written with Grant, detailing everything from that cathedral confrontation to the takedown of the Thornwell Empire. It was called I Didn't Say I Do, and it hit #1 on the bestseller lists immediately. The proceeds went to the foundation, all of them. Because I didn't need Sebastian's scandal to make me rich. I had my design business for that, which had grown into an international firm specializing in trauma-informed spaces for non-profits and shelters. Oliver sent me a drawing for my birthday, him, his siblings, and a house with a big garden. "This is where we all play together now," the caption read. Claire had included a note. "Thank you for giving my son his siblings. They're his favorite people in the world." Sebastian wrote too, from whatever minimum security facility he'd been transferred to. The letter was long, full of apologies and self-reflection and promises to be better when he got out. I read it once, then filed it away. Some things didn't require a response. Grant and I got married that spring, in a small ceremony at a vineyard in Oregon with just family and close friends. No cathedral, no 400 guests, no secrets, just love. Real, honest, complicated, beautiful love. As I stood there in a simple dress, no crystals, no vintage lace, just me, I thought about the woman I'd been 2 years ago, standing at that other altar, about to make the biggest mistake of her life. And I was grateful. Grateful for Claire's courage. Grateful for Grant's support. Grateful for Catherine's final act of redemption. Grateful for every woman who'd spoken up and made the world a little bit safer. But mostly, I was grateful for that moment, that terrible, wonderful moment when everything fell apart. Because sometimes, the best thing that can happen to you is for your perfect life to shatter. It means you get to build a real one. If you made it this far, you're part of something special. This story isn't just about revenge or scandal. It's about finding the courage to walk away from a lie and toward the truth, no matter how painful. If Juliet's journey touched you, inspired you, or made you think about your own life, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for Mr. Douglas Stories. Comment, "I am with Mr. Douglas Stories" below, and let me know what you thought. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Because at the end of the day, we all have our cathedral moments, times when everything we thought we knew gets challenged. The question is, do we have the courage to walk away, to demand better, to rebuild? I hope Juliet's story showed you that you do. Until next time, this is Mr. Douglas Stories, reminding you that the truth might hurt, but it's the only thing that sets you free. God bless you all. And remember, always choose truth over comfort, courage over convenience, and yourself over any lie someone tries to sell you. See you in the next story.